Hi everybody, welcome to section 2 clustering. In this section we are going to take a look at the fundamentals of clustering, and also we will look at some most used clustering algorithms like k-means clustering, hierarchical clustering, and DB-scan clustering algorithm. In this video, k-means clustering, we are going to take a look at fundamentals of clustering, fundamentals of k-means clustering, and applications in R related to k-means clustering. Well, let's start with the fundamentals of clustering. You know that the clustering is the most important problem of the unsupervised learning. The clustering algorithms deal with finding a structure in a collection with unlabeled data. Another definition of clustering is the process of organizing objects into groups with similar groups in some way. Well, let's talk about the k-means algorithm. The k-means algorithm is one of the simplest unsupervised learning algorithms that solve the well-known clustering problem. The procedure for the k-means is so quite clear. The general idea is to assign k-centroids for each cluster. Let's suppose that you have n observations and you like to divide them into k subgroups. The purpose is to assign each observation to subgroups. The k-means is a clustering method aimed at locating k-centroids that minimize the distance between data points and the centroids. The algorithm generally uses Euclidean distance. And also you know that the k-means algorithm can be adapted to many real-life problems. Assume that you have an e-commerce portal and you like to group your users according to their behaviors. You could use k-means clustering for solving this issue. Well, let's open our studio and make some simple examples about k-means clustering. In this example, we are gonna get data from my GitHub repo, and first of all, we will assign this URL to a URL variable, and after that, we will read the data from the URL. I'd like to warn you because these datasets include some different encodings character. You need to define the encoding of dataset in the read.csv function. Well, let's read the data from the URL. Let's check the first 6 rows of the variable. You could see that we have imported the data properly. In this dataset, there are 2 columns. First column is about the name of the cities in Turkey, and the second column is about the population of these cities. Well, in this example, we will try to divide the cities into 5 clusters according to their population size. If you like to get help information about k-means, kindly type help and k-means. You will get the instruction according to k-means clustering algorithm. Well, you know, in this example, we will cluster the population size of the cities. And to make this clustering operation, let's type k-means and let's select the population column of the variable and put the number of cluster which you like to divide, and then assign the result to C variable. Well, let's check the C variable. You could see that there are 5 clusters with these means, and the cluster with the label 4 is the biggest cluster, and you could see that is just one city has assigned to this cluster. Probably it is Istanbul, because you know it's the biggest city in Turkey. Well, let's take a look at the cluster label, and you could get all the information selecting the variable under the C variable. You could get the iteration size and the cluster centers. You could get many useful information from the C variable. Let's merge the cluster label and our dataset. For this, we will use a data.frame function, and we will put first our dataset, which called D, and after that we will put the label of our dataset and then assign them to CD variable. Well, let's check the head of the CD variable. You could see that Adana goes to the cluster with label 5, Adiaman goes to the cluster with label 2, and you could see that Amasya, Agri, and Adiaman are in the same cluster because of their population size. You could see that the population size of these is so close to each other. Well, let's get the iteration. This algorithm get the result with 3 iterations, and let's get stays with the cluster label 5. To do this, you could use the which function and the put clause in this function. Because we would like to get stays with the cluster label 5, let's call these stays, and you could see that the stays with the cluster label 5. If you like to get the stays with the cluster label 4, it's so similar. Let's check the stays. You could see that the biggest cluster include just one stay, which is the Istanbul. You know, it's the biggest city in Turkey.